Hello, people, and welcome to the show. My guest today is an amazing singer songwriter, one of the most talented musicians I know, and one of the best people I know, period. Her new single, No Time, is available on all major streaming platforms. Please give it up for the great and powerful Morgan Bosman. One, and we're live. Morgan, how you doing?
Hey, Greg. It's been so long. How are you doing?
Once again, I miss your smiling face. I'm glad I can see it through the power of the internet. Um, I love the new single. It's really great. So
Thank
congratulations.
you. Thank you. It feels so good to have it out.
So I actually have a listener question. And I think that might be a good way to
Oh,
get things started because like people actually care about what you and I
that's
have to
fun.
say, right? So you and I are both Nashville musicians. We came from different musical cities. I came from Cleveland. You came from St. Louis, and we both have, we're coming from musical cities of different genres. Cleveland, a rock city, St. Louis, more of like a jazz city, and then we're both coming to
Yeah.
Nashville, which is known as a country town. And then, how is it for us finding gigs in Nashville with the kind of music that we're doing? How is it
hmm
for you, like finding gigs, finding people to book with, and playing venues? For me, the answer is like it's actually not that hard. It's very, very reasonable and very easy to find people to play with. I assume your answer is largely the same.
Yeah. I mean, at least at this point, not too difficult. In recent years, I've been doing more, well, pre-COVID in recent years,
Mm-hmm.
doing more like events and festivals versus actual like booking venues. Just because for me it made a little more sense and was easier to book versus trying to get people on a bill and then to do book a show and that there is a soul music now I'm more soul pop I guess scene here, but it's not like booming necessarily, which is
Right.
unfortunate because there is a lot of talent in those genres here in the city. It just doesn't get as much of a platform, I think, unfortunately. Definitely more now than even a few years ago, just from the efforts of some different organizations and groups that really make an effort to get it in your face like, hey, this exists, this is here. This is also part of the Nashville music scene, which is really cool. But for me, it actually has been easier to do more festivals and events versus like myself booking a venue show. And I haven't done that in a while, actually, for that reason.
Yeah, I mean, I really haven't been playing out that much because it booking the venue isn't the hard part. It's booking the other bands and like herding all them and the different egos of
Yeah.
like you got 5-man bands and then you have four different bands you have to book and then the egos of those five different people and where they want to play in the bill and all that stuff and like our drummer can't make it we have to cancel and then every so that's more where I found it difficult. But you're doing it the smart way by playing the festivals, like shows where there's actual crowds, pretty much guaranteed, and money.
Well, and it's right. Like financially, it's hard to keep booking venues like that unless you're really, able to bring that amount of people in, which, you know, happens sometimes. But at least what I've found in Nashville, and it, likely is a style thing, a genre thing. It just hasn't really hit like that, for me, as far as really getting people out to shows. So it's worked a lot better to do right, like festivals and events. Mainly festivals because it's like, and also you can pay your musicians, which
Right.
I prefer to do. So if I am not in a position to really be able to do that the way I want to, I kind of end up turning some things down.
No, it's tough. Like especially like because you and I we both like to pair players, and also we're both millennials, so like money isn't coming that
Right.
much towards us. So it's a rough time to get into the industry. Now, as far as genre goes, your genre has always been a little bit hard for me to define because it really is like a mixture of a bunch of different stuff,
Yeah.
and they're all genres that I can define very easily. But I like when I describe you to people like, oh, she's a soul singer, but lots of pop and lots of jazz and lots of R&B and like sort of like all in a blender. So would you describe yourself as like soul pop if you're just like doing the elevator pitch? For the dinosaurs like me who don't understand what genres are like happening nowadays, it's like it's soul pop the way you would describe it.
That's typically how I would describe it. I mean, my voice is always soulful, just from the influences that I have. That's never going to change. It's always got a little bit of a jazzy inflection for that reason too, and I love that style of music as well. But so with that influence, also tends to I've been experimenting with a lot of you know fun and dance music and funk influences, and even some pop rock kind of influences as well, but with a soulful. My voice is always going to be soulful, so it's going to be soulful.
Mm.
But there's so many different influences that run through my mind and my ears over the years, and it's fun to have the freedom to experiment with some different sounds like house that I've been wanting to get into and I've been enjoying, and I've been dipping in that as well. So, but generally, like the umbrella that I'd usually tell people, it's like soulful pop music.
Yeah, so I realized the great beauty of this format is that I can finally, like, as a friend who's known you for a long time, like, ask
Yeah.
all these questions that have like been in the back of my mind, where I just wondered about it. So, like, as someone who with our productions that we've
Hmm.
done, we've been largely self-produced.
Yes.
We've flown out like some drum tracks from like a different studio in Texas, or like guitars from another city, or some vocals from LA or whatever, like blended it together. But largely it's been in-house, and so we've
Hmm.
been the ones like sort of orchestrating the sound from the ground up. Um, and I noticed that your productions are all like really crisp, really clear. Like they sound great, and they sound very competitive with what's on the radio right now. Where any of your singles, I could see like played in top 40 on a playlist and be one of the better songs, and like not, it doesn't falter in terms of songwriting. It doesn't falter in terms of production. Like we're a weird band. Like we don't fit in. But your stuff, I could see it's like distinct enough where it's you, but it's like contemporary enough where I could see it fitting in. And so I wonder, in terms of like the production, um,
Hmm.
are you largely like the mastermind producer? Are you working with producers? What's like the the payment arrangement like if you're working with those producers? And then also just like, man, how do you make like those cool like dance beats with the modern pop? Because I want to start doing some of that stuff.
Yeah. Thank you, by the way. You know, for depending on the uh, the track or the song, I'll usually come with some song ideas, or sometimes depending on who I'm writing with. I do work with producers, by the way. So a couple that I've worked with a lot in recent years, Hayden Coleman. He goes by Hayden THC Coleman. If you look up
Yeah,
his socials,
yeah, I know Hayden.
yeah, Hayden, and then Nick Lizcano.
Okay.
So I've been working with them a lot, and the fun thing about working with them is they're both songwriters as well. So we write together, and for me, what we've done is really be able to bring that creative energy to where we might start something from scratch completely, and like and start writing, and while we're writing they're building the track, or they might have something in mind, like a little stretch of a beat, and I'll come over and we'll feel it out and write to it. So it's been really fun to play with those sounds, because for a while, a few years ago, I had been wanting to bring together the production element, um, and different sounds along with the live instrumentation. If you remember, past a few years ago, pretty much my entire sound was live. Even recorded stuff felt and sounded very live, because it
Mm.
was. Um, and since then, I've been really wanting to to bring those two together to create the sound that I'm hearing in my head. And so I've been able to do that. It's a combination of right with producers, and they happen to be producers that also write. So I think that, sometimes makes a difference as well. So we'll create something together. We both are throwing out ideas. I can have some ideas of, oh, it'd be cool to have like a synth that's like, I'll sing my idea or be able to play it, and they can, recreate that, but also bring their own magic element to it. And then we'll bring in a couple, musicians to, lay down a guitar track or lay down bass or, add some drums to mold with the electronic drums. So that's been a really, really fun process for me the past few years, past couple years especially.
So is it largely electronic drums nowadays? Because I mean, your earliest stuff like did have like the organic live drum sound, so you pretty much shifted more
Right.
towards the electronic sound.
It's a mold of both. I mean, no, well, I'm trying to think. No Time was definitely a mold of electronic drums plus live drums tracked.
Right.
I think Vibing on Replay actually was all electronic drums. Um, so recent tracks, it's been either a mix or, completely electronic, depending on, what we're doing. Um, so I've been mixing it. And speaking of production, so I have a producer I work with, on the track, on the production of the song, mixing engineer, which sometimes is not the same as I might use a different person to mix the song
Mm-hmm.
than I did to track the song and to produce the instrumentation or the beat. And then I have somebody else that masters it. So sometimes it'll be like three engineers on one song, or two. Most of the time, two or three, just because everybody specializes in something and brings a completely different element to it that I really like. So that's been a part of my sound as well. Why it sounds so like the. I love the mixes and the masters. I'm really proud of those, at least the last few releases. So
I mean, they all
that's
sound
part of
great.
that sound. Thank you. It's part of that sound too, like how it gets to that quality.
Yeah, and for people who are regular watchers of the show, they know I don't just suck up because we had a buddy of mine on the last episode, and I like most of his music, but he asked me like, "Hey, what do you think of the new EP?" I said I wasn't that into it. So if I'm not into it,
That's
I let you
fair,
know.
right?
And like, hey, that EP you recorded in a day, it sounded like you did it in a day. But like your productions always really impress me. Are you finding that it's more beneficial to go like just the singles route as opposed to full albums? Because you did like the EP, but you never really did the full album, as far as I know. Like, do you find that the singles thing works better for you?
For right now, yeah. I am actually working on an EP right now, which I'm really calling it my first official EP, because the one I did in 2014, 2015, I just released that on Bandcamp.
Hmm.
I think I did put a couple of the tracks on there,
Hey,
on like iTunes,
it's
but
on the streaming services. I streamed some of it.
yeah, it's on. I know it's for sure on Apple. I didn't put it on a lot of other major, just because my sound has evolved and grown and changed so much since then. But I don't, it's still part of my journey, so I didn't want to get rid of it completely. But it's definitely on Bandcamp, and I think on like Apple Music, iTunes as well.
Yeah, I mean
Uh,
they're great songs. I feel like
Thank you.
great songs are great songs, and I think that there's something. There's a lot of charm and heart to different eras of an artist, and so like you'll go back and look at like a '70s Al Green album versus one from like 2001. They're going to be very different. But there's
Yeah,
stuff to love about both eras and stuff to appreciate about both eras, and so sometimes you might be in the mood to grab something that's a little bit different off the beaten path. And I think your early stuff, I mean, your songs are there. I remember I took a friend of mine to see you at the Hard Rock Cafe, and she was blown away
yeah.
by your stuff. So I mean, the songs were always
Thank
there.
you. And there are songs from that, like Dear James. That's from the first EP that I
Hmm.
still perform,
Yeah,
and that's been so many years. Like just because people love that song, and I love that song.
I was
So
jamming to Mixed Signals just the other day. I
yeah,
mean, I mean, there's
yeah.
a lot of great songs that you've written. So I
Thank
feel
you.
like what I would want from from the perspective of like your friend and your fan and also someone who's like really lazy, I would love just like all the Morgan Bosman singles in like a single release, and it's just like Morgan Bosman the singles from whatever year to whatever year, and just like here's all of them in the place because it's basically an album's worth. They're just like, man,
All
just
of them together.
make it all just one together so that because sometimes when you're streaming it, it'll just like go to like random stuff, and like you have to like
Yeah.
manually. I want you to make the playlist for me because I'm really lazy and I want album art.
I got you. I'll do that for you because it's like, I am gonna do an EP for sure. It'll be like
Hmm.
a small EP, and I'm really looking forward to that. Till then, yes, definitely singles. For me, seems the way to go. It just makes a lot of sense. Yeah, versus trying to do an album right now. Just everybody's listening to singles, you know.
Yeah, it really is a singles market. What have you found is the best way to promote and push a single? Like, have you found what you feel is like a good formula for it, or is it just social media blitz, tell all the friends, like what do you find is the way to do it?
Yeah, I feel like I learn something new every release. I really do. Like this one, this so No Time was a little bit of a guinea pig for me, and I was excited about it because I'm like, I hadn't released anything since like October 2019. So I've learned a lot since then. Just like, um, from friends that have been releasing music since then, but also like from workshops and I'll read blogs and try to get as much info as I can, just different strategies that seem to work or don't work for other people and things to try. 'Cause it's all again, it's like just trying things and seeing what works for you, what sticks for you. Um, so I don't have it 100% like a solid strategy yet, but I do have a layout of a strategy that I tried this time, and just seeing what works and things that I've tried in past releases. Definitely, yeah, tell all the friends, let everybody know, on the socials, of course, but it can't be just that. It's like, the different uh, blogs or festivals or professionals that have been supportive to
Hmm.
me. I make sure I reach out to them as well, to let them know I've got something coming up. Whether that be, yeah, like different local radio, but not just that, but like yeah, just different professional people and mediums that have been super supportive. I want to make sure they know about it too. A lot of times because they will reciprocate that love and share your
Right.
release as well, with their friends or with their followers, and whatever platforms they have. And then I tried some playlist submission as well. Um, and, that's a lot of trying to research and see as you're, really looking at which playlists you're submitting to, what makes sense. Um, Halfway throwing the spaghetti on the wall, but halfway not, because you do want to at least make sure it's like, okay, does this realistically fit the music that they're curating?
Right.
And sometimes it does fit, and then it at that point it's half the spaghetti stick might stick on the wall, have it may not, but at least you did your research to see like, hey, like what makes sense versus just submitting to like all these random playlists and where it's like some of them may not make sense for that release to be on there. So that's something I've done too, just kind of make a list of go through. I know there are a couple playlisting submission sites that you can go on and, get some more info about those curators and see, who to reach out to, who to submit your single to. And yeah, personally reaching out to the different like blogs or professionals that have been like supportive, maybe some that you've heard of that maybe shared a friend or, somebody whose music is similar to yours that you saw they were sharing, their music. So maybe reach out to them too, even though, you may not know them personally, but they may like it. If they like music that's similar to yours, they probably will like it. So that helps too. And then of course the socials, fun little, visual elements to go with it to share. And yeah, spreading the word, letting everybody know, hitting them up, personally. And that's what I've, been learning so far. Definitely making sure all your the DSPs that you have access to on the artist back end, like everything's up to date. Yeah, stuff. Just make a list, stuff like that to kind of check through each release, and then as you go, we always learn new stuff, so we might add or change some things that didn't really work. So it's such a learning process. I'm learning every time.
Yeah, it's a lot different nowadays than it was back in the day because the
Hmm.
artist nowadays, and it's the case for most, especially since there's a lot less money in the industry. Like you have to be the marketer or the promoter, and you have to know all the social media stuff, all the playlist submission, and it's I feel like I'm just like getting more and more lost each day where I feel like a dinosaur and I'm just like hitting my keyboard like how Spotify work, what I do.
Seriously though, it's like there's so much. I'm just like, I wish I just had the secret formula, like the Krabby Patty recipe of
Right.
of like releases. Like how do we do it? But
Yeah, and it's so difficult to like cuz I there was a number of years where I was considered one of the better people in Nashville at the marketing thing, and I'd have like young bands like say, "Hey, we want you to give us marketing advice," and like I feel like at this point I'm no longer the guy who knows the stuff, and that it's like gotten past me, and so I'm just like trying to look at it and not understanding it. It's I don't know, it's difficult. I feel like an old man.
well, because it changes um, all the time. Like just last week, what we got Instagram Reels,
Right, and so
so
that's a
that's
whole new
a
thing
huge thing,
because
and it's
TikTok
and
is likely to get
TikTok.
banned.
So and that right, that's Instagram's response, and it's like so everybody's using Reels. It's like, all right, I got to do Reels.
Right.
I got to do Reels now. I got to get on TikTok, and so it can be fun, as a tool, but at the same time, for me, I'm just like, man, like I don't really want to keep up with any more platforms.
Right.
Like
Like
it's already a lot.
I feel like it's unfortunately part of the process, and where I've reached is that I did so much of the marketing stuff. Where like
Yeah,
we would literally mail out stuff to radio stations like radio promos. Did the
yeah,
interviews. Did all the blogs. Um, did the social media campaigns. Appeared on the podcast, like did all those things. And it got to the point where we were doing like so much of that in comparison to the music where I just got burnt out, where it would be like 90% that and then maybe like 10% music if that. And it just
yeah,
and maybe the singles way is the way to do it because like you're getting your stuff out there more consistently. You're happy with the product, and you're getting less burnout from that. How are you handling with the not being able to play shows aspect of this and
yeah,
the COVID thing?
yeah. It's well now I'm starting to really miss playing shows. I'll have days where I'm like, oh, I miss it so much. I really do. Um, but for a while, the timing actually ended up musically for me being okay because I was actually planning on taking a break from playing shows during this time. Well, personally, I didn't really plan to extend it to for this long, but for a couple of months, I was
Hmm.
definitely planning already in the spring and early summer to take a break and really work on these new songs as far as the EP and some other singles to really kind of hone in on that, write some more, experience some more life. Of course, none of us expected a global pandemic, but the timing, ended up being okay for me as far as like, you know, it was weird at first because I was trying to force myself to write, and mentally I was so drained for a lot of different reasons, and I didn't force it. And I let myself have that time, and then it started coming back. So I would write and or not, write and then not write, and just kind of process life. Global pandemic and civil revolution, and there's a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a lot going
Uh,
on,
yeah,
and what
and
it's
everybody's
just
out
yeah.
off work, unemployment. So there's a lot going on. So it's like, a lot of time I would just be literally just processing. Um, and that when I'm processing, I'm like, sometimes I feel like writing, sometimes I don't.
Hmm.
And it's still that way. But it ended up being okay as far as not having to spend a bunch of time, like, necessarily booking and, um, setting up and getting ready for uh, live shows, and just taking that time, having that time, forcibly, but also kind of, I planned it for a couple months, not necessarily this long, but that's okay. This time to really work on, just work on some new music and really give my time and attention to that. And so that's been good. And, with everything going on, I definitely still plan to continue to take time for that to be my focus. And at the right time, definitely bring back some live shows. I did a few smaller scale, like, streaming for
Hmm.
benefit shows this summer, which I enjoyed doing. So those were great. But outside of that, I really hadn't planned on. You know, I did lose a few gigs because of COVID, but not too many. I feel for my friends that lost, like, just whole tours, or
Yeah.
definitely clusters of shows on weekends. I feel for them, because that sucks, and financially that's really hard. But thankfully for me, I purposely hadn't booked much because I was planning to take a break anyway. So I did lose, about three shows since COVID hit, but it's all good. Just focusing on the new music and on writing and recording and releases right now.
Yeah, I only lost one show due to COVID, but it would probably have been one of the biggest shows I've done, which was a bummer. Um,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was a benefit for the tornado victims, and
Mm,
so I was very very like conflicted when all of that went down. But like I was one of the first people to bow out of the gig. Eventually, the organizer like canceled it and did the right thing, just because that was
yeah,
the week the tornado hit was also the week COVID hit. Um,
yeah.
and
Oh,
and
man,
so
Nashville's been through so much. Yeah,
yeah, and also I want to give a shout out to you for just being a generally amazing person, because your feed is just like the best kind of community activism, where like you're always just providing like resources for people, and it's like it's never like mean spirited. It's just like here's info to help you out.
yeah,
If you need food
yeah.
after the tornado, here's where it is. Here's phone numbers to call. If you want to volunteer, here's where to go. Like you're always like doing that kind of stuff, and just like making me just really proud to be your friend. You're just like literally the model upstanding citizen is Morgan Bosman. Morgan Bosman for president. Forget these chumps that are running. Morgan Bosman for prez. That's why
Oh
that's who has
man,
my vote.
Greg, that's so sweet. Thank you. Because, like, I just I just want to be helpful, and use my voice or whatever I have to use to just be tried to be helpful. Because there's, and I did have, a couple of friends that I personally know affected, like, very affected by the tornado. And, even those I don't know, it's like it's rough. And I'm like, that could have literally been me or you, or like
Hmm. No, it was
anybody.
down the
Like,
street from
yeah.
us got destroyed, like completely
Oof,
destroyed, and a place
yeah.
that we were actually thinking about moving to in the same neighborhood just didn't
Mm,
exist. And so if we had moved to that place, and it was
wow.
like
It would have been gone.
we had a couple places on the list, and that was actually Amanda like was praying and got like a premonition about it, said not this place. And so then
Wow.
years later, when the tornado hit, if we had gone with that place, it was I think like maybe like a couple hundred a month cheaper, but she's like, no, I'm really feeling this other place a little bit further will be safer. She kept getting safer through like her prayers,
Wow.
and then
Yeah.
what ends up happening. But so like that's where I'm just like, okay, I gotta definitely listen to her whenever she gets like the prayers and the voices in the head.
Definitely. Intuition is so strong. Like, I'm, it's something, one of the biggest things I've learned, like, as I get older, is how real manifestation and also just intuition is. Like, definitely listen to that voice in your head, because a lot of times that's like literally your ancestors. Like, speaking to you like, hey, um, here's some info. Like you don't like see it yet, or it's you know, um, I call it God, but you can call it whatever you want. But it's like that's a real thing. If you feel that or hear that, it's like, all right, let me just like take it seriously because you
Right.
you just really never know. Yeah, that's well, I'm so thankful y'all are safe, and yeah, it's just it's crazy. It could have been any of us. So
Yeah, I think one of the biggest bummers for me personally is that because I was out like volunteering a lot after the tornado hit, and
yes,
then
yeah,
once I saw the news about COVID, like I backed off from it just for like the safety of
yeah,
like myself and those in my household and just trying to keep
sure,
all of us safe. But like I miss volunteering. I miss like helping the community, going out and doing stuff. And I just, I don't feel it is the best thing I can do like to keep, my household safe to make sure that like cuz I'm still lucky enough to have a job. So I don't want
yeah,
to, get sick and miss too much work or, whatever.
for
So
sure, yeah,
but it's like I miss like the work I did with like the Nashville Children's Alliance, and I missed cleaning up that tornado wreckage because I want to help out my community. It's just like that's I just have the urge to help out with stuff, and when you're a broke millennial, because they're just like, oh, you can just donate, but like if you don't have the extra money to donate, what could I donate? I could donate like my time and my labor. But since I don't
yeah,
really like, I can't like do that physically. It's like a little bit torturous in that way. We're just like, oh, I want to help and I can't, and that's like I feel
yeah,
that there's a lot of people in this position where they want to help. They want to somehow help the situation that we're in, and there's really not much you can do other than just like wait. Like that, and that's like the part that's driving everybody. That's like you just have to sit and wait and be patient, which is
yeah.
really really tough.
It really is. It really is, and it's like if nothing else, it's like just checking in on people. If that's all you can do, just check in, just see what it is that they need.
You're one of
If
the
the
first people I checked in on. I'm just
and
like I'm
I
like
appreciate that. You sure did. You sure did. Yeah, just check in on the people you care about around you. If nothing else, that it's appreciated and reciprocated, and it's good. Because it's hard. It feels weird. It's like when you feel like kind of helpless. It's like, well, what can I do? In certain situations. So I feel you. I totally feel you.
Well, I'm glad you're doing well. Like you look happy, you look healthy, you look like
Thank
you haven't
you.
gained of the COVID-19. Like you're looking good. You're.
Oh, I did earlier. I had to cut back on a few snacks. But yeah, if you saw me a couple months, nah, but yeah,
but
COVID snacks. But yeah, yeah.
but no,
Thank
like you're
you.
you're, you're looking like you're looking good, and I know so many people who have just been like completely broken by this, and to a degree, like there are certain people who are broken by this where I understand where like if you just lost your job and permanent job loss, but like we're in a depression, like if you're broken by that, I understand. But if you're a
Yeah,
person who like still has your job and you're just like, okay, you can't go out and party, and you're broken by that. I feel like that's where you got to do like some inner toughening up, because like so many of my artist friends who I know, like there have been a lot of people who are just like completely broken and shattered, and then so many people who like adapted, release new music. You got a new single out. My friends in the rock and roll residency, where they're a cover band, but they can't play shows, so they're just like, I guess we're gonna record an original EP and hope some people buy it. And like they're everybody's like adapting, and so I
yeah,
feel like this is a really good chance. Like this is a really good chance for the internal battle that I think a lot of people need to have, where you can say, how do you make yourself stronger? Because this is like a battle where like you can't really fight the outside world with it. Where a lot of people like their battles are against the outside world, but in this case, for a lot of people, it's like you have to do that self-examination. Like, what are you going to do to better yourself and keep your spirits up in this time? And I know it's a very, very difficult thing to do. What I try to do is I try to exercise every day and write every day. I know people are trying different things, but like, what are you doing for like your self care in this era? Like, what is Morgan Bosman doing? What is she encouraging the kids to do? What's working for you?
Yeah, for sure. I'll definitely say, like, towards the beginning of pandemic, I definitely went through some time where it was almost like a little bit of shock where, again, everybody's processing, but it's like a little bit of, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm so used to, like, you know, having 10 million things to do.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden it was like everything is pretty much on hold, like literally everything. It's like, okay, what? So I definitely needed and did take some time off where I felt my anxiety really creeping up and coming back in a to a level that I felt very uncomfortable with. Like I hadn't felt that in a while. And kind of, we all, deal with anxiety different ways. But what I had to do was literally there were days where I turned off all of my social media
Hmm.
apps, put limits on my internet app as well. Um, I had to do that, and then literally just spend time outside.
Yeah, nature's huge. Like, go to the park and just, walk in the woods. So helpful during this time.
Definitely spent a lot more time outside and a lot less time, like, because if my phone's here, I'm gonna be looking at it.
Hmm.
But you can, in your settings, you can adjust it to where you kind of have to go through some hoops to use your social
Yeah.
media apps or whatever apps you select. And so I did that for myself because I knew I felt my anxiety creeping up. I'm like, man, I'm not trying to go through panic attacks again. I've been
Right.
through that. I had one, and then thankfully not more than that. So, but yeah, I definitely had to do that for myself. Spend time meditating. I did do some online therapy. Couldn't go visit my therapist
You
because
do
of COVID.
BetterHelp?
Is that the name of the?
That's the name of one I tried for a little bit.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. It wasn't BetterHelp. This was one a therapist recommended by a friend of mine that I started going to last year, and it was very so helpful. So that was great. At least we can like, what do you like? Kind of like this, like Skype
Hmm.
video therapy. So that was helpful too. And I will say, to whoever's watching, because therapy can be expensive, and for a while I thought that I couldn't go for several reasons. One was the social stigma behind it, but also because of financial barriers.
Hmm.
But there are a lot of places that do sliding scale, so those exist. So definitely check into that and those resources. I just wanted to say that. But yeah. So anyway, that was helpful. What is it? Therapy, going outside, staying off social media for sections of time. Yeah, I spent a lot of time. You know, if you have friends or somebody you can like kind of process with and vent
Hmm.
to, and also it's okay to spend time by yourself. Um, it was a lot of that. If you feel like writing, write. If you don't, it's okay. Don't force it and don't beat yourself up about it.
Oh, see, I beat
Um,
myself up about it. I'm like, nope, every day.
See, I would, and then that's something else I talked about in therapy, and they're like, why are be more easy on yourself with that. There's literally so much going on right now. Like, it's okay.
I think that approach is what I would say is that the approach I'm doing, if someone doesn't do it, I don't think that they're wrong, but I think there's different things that work with different people.
Right there, that's true.
And so like there's like David Goggins is going to just jog like 20 miles every day, and that is great for David Goggins. That's not great for every single person on the planet.
Right.
Jocko wakes up at 4:30 in the morning and works out every day. That is not what I'm going to do every day. But for me, like Stephen King, he has a thing where I don't even like Stephen King that much as a writer. But I respect his work ethic, where he just every single day he writes for 4 hours,
Mm,
uninterrupted. Like turns off the internet, writes for 4 hours, 7 days a week, and then the rest of the time he's with his family. He's completely present. He's just like not worried about work stuff. But for
yeah.
those 4 hours, he is grinding, he is focused, and that's just like his rule. And
Yeah.
so like having that, I think works for people. And there's a great Paul Stanley quote where he was talking about in the early days of the band, like someone from the record label said, "Hey, we need another song for the record," and Paul said, "I'm not feeling inspired today." And then the guy says, "All right, well here's your inspiration. You don't write a song, you don't get a paycheck. How about that?" And he said, from that moment on, he changed his perspective. Realized that even if you as an artist are not feeling inspired, to still be enough of a professional to get past that barrier. And he said it was a great experience for him because he learned that, sometimes you're not going to be feeling it, but if you can push past it and still get great work out, that is, in his opinion, like what a true professional is. And so, like,
Mm.
when I did the film score, there'd be, like, times where I was just, like, not feeling it and, like, not really maybe wanting to work on it. But when you push through it, I think just that, like, professionalism mentality and that discipline and, like, I think I think I need a little bit more of a rigid schedule because just, like, the way my brain works. But also, I recognize that, like, you can push yourself too far. You can get burnt out, and you don't want to do that either. And so, what I just try to do is, like, just do at least a little bit each day. At least get in, like, your basic workouts each day to keep yourself healthy, and at least put in enough writing each day where you've made some progress and you feel like your mind is still being sharp. So, that's what works for me. But,
Yeah.
different things for different people.
Different. Right. That's so true. And it's like, for me, what works for me is, try, try every day. But legit, like if you're experiencing like so much like mental trauma
Hmm.
to the point where it would be, whatever you're doing is painful, stop. It's okay.
No, that
And so, yeah. So,
that is a very
and
good lesson.
yeah, and everybody is so different. That's the thing. Just like you got to just listen to your body and your mind, and just figure out what works for you. Exercise has been good too for the mentals as
Oh,
well.
exercise is so important during this time because
Really
like the
good.
endorphins and just like it's important to keep your immune system up for with COVID, but also just like it makes you happier when you do it. Like when you
Yeah.
wake up and you're just like, I don't want to exercise. And you're just like you hate it. And you're just like, I don't want to do it. But once you do it, like you're in a better mood. And
That's
I
so true.
and
Yeah.
I want to give you an artistic cheat code that I've discovered about one of the ways that I've successfully been able to do like the writing every day is that you don't
Mhm.
need to write the same thing every day. So like let's say you've got like a main project that you're really focused on and you're just like you're not feeling it that day. But like you have your list of projects. So like these are songs I want to write or things I want to work on, and they're maybe not as high priority. But then like you switch and do a different one, it feels
Mm.
fresh and it's like a fun day. But you're still like getting that training as an artist. So
Yep.
that's what I've been doing on the days where I'm burnt out. Like I don't feel like working on this project today. But you know what? I got this other one over here that hasn't been getting
Mm.
attention. That is maybe like second or third on the list. I'm gonna work on that a little bit, and then it actually rejuvenates me and gives me that extra energy. So I'm not saying that people have to do it, but I found something that works for me. So the same way you spread the good info on the Facebook, I'm
Right.
spreading the good info in case you're like,
Yeah.
in case you're just like, I need something to lift me up today, and the stuff you were working on artistically wasn't fulfilling that. I
Hmm.
just like a slight detour, and all of a sudden, like all these these possibilities open up. It's something that I discovered fairly recently because it was so much just like focus on the band, focus on the band, focus on the band, and so then it's like, oh, I've got this novel. And like, I'm not feeling the novel today. I've been working on it so much. Ooh, work on the screenplay, and just like, being able to hop from the project to the project, I think that's helped me a lot in terms of like keeping my mental sanity.
That's awesome. That's a great suggestion. Yeah.
So, I'm sharing that with you because I know like you might be like, I'm working on the song and I have this idea for it. And like, you're working on that same thing, but you're like, you know what? Let me just do like something a little bit like your coloring book thing where like you
Hmm.
might be working on like your next single and you're like listening to the mix over and over and just like I'm doing too much of that, then like, you know what, I'm going to get the coloring book, I'm going to write a coloring book song, do something
Yeah.
different. So just like mixing it up, understand that like
That's always an option.
your
Hmm.
creativity doesn't have to be the same thing all the time. You can mix it up, and I think that's actually really something I wish I understood sooner as an artist because it's like it's
Hmm.
really changed a lot for me.
That's so true. Like you can mix it up, because it really can get monotonous working on the same thing or same project day in and day out. And,
Hmm.
sometimes it's like, you know, it may not necessarily be taken, but it's still productive. You may not
Right.
necessarily take a break, but you might say, maybe during this time I'm gonna work on this, or
Hmm.
something different. So that is good. That's a good way to, you know, kind of cheat code your brain into
Yeah,
not getting too tired about
it's
the same thing.
I'm actually like really amazed. Well, like I've been keeping it up for like the last like 3 months,
Hmm.
and pretty much every single day, it's worked. And like, oh, like I haven't broken yet, so like, all right, I guess this thing is working. So, and
Yeah,
and one of the things I talked about with you is that I'm working on a screenplay where like I had like a main
which is
screenplay I
so
was.
cool, by the way.
Thank you. Well, working on two. I had like a main one that I was working on, and I realized that I haven't written a screenplay like for a feature film ever, and haven't written in screenplay format since like 2013. And so I was just like rusty with like the style. It'd be like
Hmm.
saying, hey Morgan, play flute after not playing flute for like 7 years, and just like
Right.
you'll be fine, right? And like do like an hour's worth of recordings. You're like, wait, hold up, give me, hold up, give me a minute. So
Yeah.
and so when I was having like trouble, like because I actually outlined it scene by scene, and I was having trouble with like actually just putting it into the screenplay format. I had this other idea for a screenplay where I had this idea of like a movie starring a character like inspired by you. And I thought, like, having like your music be the soundtrack, having it be like, a little bit of Once, a little bit of Rocky, and just like, slice of life about like a really endearing character. And I'm like, you know what? I had this other idea that I was sort of sitting on, and I need the practice of the screenplay format. But since that one was more like it wasn't written out scene by scene, I'd more just had like the core concept. I just
Hmm.
sat down and started writing and let it flow out. And now the
Mm.
screenplay is like 70 pages, and like it's like building towards the climax and stuff. Is like it's organically building and building and building. And so now when I go back to that other project, I'll be ready for it. But like I was hitting the brick wall of just like I can't get this in the screenplay format. And so that's when I shifted over to that. And
Yeah.
that one's almost done. It'll probably be done within the next 2 weeks, and then I'm ready to go back to that other one because I've got the momentum. Like, okay, now I've got the practice, I got in my reps, I'm ready to
Yeah.
go. So that's like a literal example of how like the cheat code I found worked. Where like I had these two projects, and one I was like working on it a ton and really proud of the work, but I hit that brick wall, and so you just like sidestep, and then boom, I've got another project almost done. So
Yeah. So awesome.
and then, if you like the screenplay, if you think it sucks, then I'll find someone else to do it. But if you like it, then hey, that is a vehicle because if you want to I think that if I'm being truthful, people care more about movies than music nowadays. If I'm being truthful. And so if you're like move if your music is in the movie, then people are like, "Oh man, I'm going to go listen to her." And then your music takes off.
Well, I mean, when we talk about sync, that is a huge avenue to, you know, for a lot of people to be exposed to your music. A lot more people than before, for sure. Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading the screenplay. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm super proud of you, by the way, just to take that task on and like to follow your passion and just do it. Just do it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the Nike slogan, like, I didn't understand it as a kid. And then, like, once you're an adult and you're like, oh, right. Just, like, don't make an excuse, just get it done. Um,
Even if you've never done it before, it's like, hey, just start,
yeah.
start it.
Well, that's how it was with the film score. Like, I'd never done a film score before, but I sat down and did it. And I think that's,
Hmm.
I think there's a lot of it's like a psychological block where people are just, like, saying, like, I can't do that. And you just have to get over that and just do it and like
Right.
acknowledge you're probably going to suck for a little bit and then you'll get better.
That's
um
okay. Yeah.
Although like I still like there's a part of me that refuses to believe that you ever sucked musically. Like I can't fathom that in my head because like the moment I met you and it's like like there's the meme with the iceberg and it shows like, oh, the show, and then like underneath is like the hours of practice and stuff. But like
Mm-hmm.
when I met you, you were just already like a killer singer, and I'm just like, damn, this girl's good.
I'll say I sucked more then than I do now.
Ah, see, and I thought you were great then. I thought that you at that point you
You
didn't have
because
stage
you grow,
face,
you
but
get better at
otherwise
stuff.
otherwise you had it. But now you've got that plus stage face, so you're like a
Oh
killer.
yeah, at that time I was, you know, like a somewhat of a baby performer. I would perform, but I was still very shy, and but I liked doing it, and I loved how it made me felt. But it's like, yeah, no, I had like no stage presence at that time.
But the thing is, what you had was here's what you had. You had great songs. You had an amazing voice, which I mean, you still have. I'm saying past tense, but I mean, you have an amazing voice. You had the great songwriting chops. You always had that, and even though you might have been shy on stage, you were charming and endearing. And it was like, oh, the shy girl who's really talented, which, but like it came across, and I am so glad that I was like such a networking whore where I'm just like I need to be friends with this person because like you're like one of my closest peeps who I still talk to
Yeah,
and
same.
I'm very pleasantly surprised that you decided to hang out with me.
Dude, we were meant to be friends. It's like, it's just one of those things where energies just kind of connect, and it's like, yo, this is great.
Right.
Just good energy, like good music and good energy is like the best combo.
But it's sort of fascinating when you think about like the you know how you have like friends come and go in your life in different eras and
Yeah,
people who you think are going to be with you through the long haul and then they're not and
right, right.
then you find out over the years like who your true friends really are like through like we both had like some highs and lows over the years where like we were doing well musically and then not doing so well but like
Mm-hmm.
we always maintained that respect and always checked in with each other. We were always supportive of each other, and there was just always just that sincere like connection and caring as friends like throughout all of that. And so
Yeah,
like when I think of like my close peeps, like you're always like in that list of like people who I'm just like, ride or die, totally care about
absolutely.
Morgan is absolutely like one of my peeps. If it was on MySpace and I had like the top friends, you'd be there, you know.
Faithfully. For sure. That I'm so glad for growth. It's like, you know, just think of right, like where we started, like when we met, what we were doing. We were doing things like musically for
Mhm.
sure. It's like from then to now, it's like there's so much growth that happened and like experiencing different things and it's so cool and I'm really looking forward to the future too because it's just gonna keep going. We never stop learning and growing.
Yeah, no, I'm like your like future and trajectory. I am super excited for. Like, if I had to say, I think that I was maybe started off in a better place musically and then started to go down, but then you just been going up, in my opinion. Like you've just been like getting better and like you've been making the sort of like the right artistic decisions at each turn and like always keeping your integrity, which I think that I lost with some releases if I'm being honest, where I'm a bit disappointed in myself. But like you always kept that integrity, you always kept doing it. And so just like and I feel like your stuff is you have the talent, you have the chops, you have the charisma, and I think what you're doing is like contemporary enough where I think that it's just like a big breakaway. We're just like something is going to happen. You're going to get that big break, and then things are going to explode. And so, like, when I think to myself, which of my friends is most likely to blow up big, like, you're at the top of that list. Just because, like, you have all those elements. So I am very much rooting for you in that, in that respect.
Thanks, Greg. I appreciate your support for real, like, for For real.
And I know that
It's sad
like
I
you
can't see you. I'm just like, I see
yeah,
your
I know it's a, but if you watch on YouTube, you'll be able to see my facial expressions later. It's because Windows can't let you use a webcam in two apps, because they're concerned about security issues, but they're spying on you. So whatever, Windows.
government's always fine.
Oh
That's
yeah,
the thing.
but like what I'm saying is like there are certain friends of ours who like when they started to get bigger, like they wouldn't return my calls. Um, but like
Mm,
you're like you could be playing like Bridgestone and I could text you and be like, "Hey, you want
that's
to get
so fun.
tacos?"
Like,
And
hey,
you'd
I
be
want to get
like, I got a gig at Bridgestone, but maybe tomorrow." Like.
top. Right.
Or you'd be like, "Hey, just come to the arena. We'll order some takeout tacos." Like, but like the thing is, like, I know, like ego has never been like an issue with us. There's just always been that mutual respect, and so I think that's I have just a lot of reasons to root for you. Just the quality of your stuff and just the quality of you as a person is just come on, get that home run. Like I just am rooting for you so hard, like the most hardcore, Bulls fan in the '90s rooting for Jordan. Like that's how I am with you. Like, no, she got this.
I really do appreciate that. Like, man, keep working hard. Something will, what's meant to be will definitely be.
Yeah, I mean it's when you live in a creative city, you see all these like great people who deserve success and in their different fields like Amanda with her books, you with your
Yeah.
music, and so many other great bands. I mean, I think that's one thing that people on the outside don't understand about Nashville. It's just like how many freaking assassins and killers this city has, where just like
Hmm.
everyone would be like the baddest dude in another city, like
Oh
just the
yeah,
absolute baddest.
we have
And
so much here. Yeah.
yeah, just like so many killers, so many assassins. Like who are you super excited about on the scene? Like who's just like who are you like really pumped about?
Locally.
Yeah.
Oh man. Um,
Although that potentially will call people out because then other people are like, how come you didn't mention my band? So
I
that's
know. I'm
dangerous.
like, because I definitely there are people I'm rooting for, but just off the top of my head, man, in some different areas. As an artist, somebody I want to shout out is Sania. So she is incredible songwriter, artist. God, she does a little bit of everything: songwriter, artist, musician, model, and also just genuine, amazing person. Um, that's somebody I really. I mean, it's like all it takes is like she's right there. Like she's when she does take off and break, like, and she's had some high success in some areas, and it's like she's like on the tip of the iceberg,
Hmm.
and when she does, I'm rooting so hard for her right now, and I'm like rooting hard for her when that does happen, like as a friend and a supporter. I'm like, yeah, like it's it's gonna happen. I'm like gonna be super super proud. um and another friend of mine I mentioned earlier, Hayden T.C. Coleman, on on the production and writing. I'm like, that's another person I see day in and day out work so hard and be so dope and just have an incredible spirit, and and also music to bring with it, and just like both of them, like tireless, just working hard, and like and I see them growing too, and it's like tip of the iceberg. All it takes, something's gonna pop, and I'm like so excited, so excited for their futures. And man, it people that just like you, like people I'm very grateful to call friends, and close people in my life, in Nashville anyway. So yeah, super excited for them
So are you
and for you, friend.
well, I'm semi-retired switching industries, so although I did just today, like one of the musicians I respect most in Nashville, where just like I am a big fan of this guy's playing. He's won multiple Grammy awards, and just like an amazing musician, and I'm not going to like say his name, but like he like sent me a text is like, hey man, do you want to do a track with me? And like he's a guy I've always had in the back of my mind, like, man, I would love to do a track with this dude, but I can't afford him. But like, wait, if he's asking me, that means
Mhm.
he wants to do it with me, which means I probably don't have to pay him. Which means, hell yeah, I will be on a track with you,
Oh
musician I think is really amazing that I wanted to work with but couldn't afford. If you're reaching out to me, hell yeah, buddy.
yeah. Yes.
But it's sort of funny because I was at a point where I was thinking that I'm still gonna do music, but I've like really shifted my focus away from it,
Hmm.
and like put as like an afterthought, back burner thing, especially during this pandemic, because like our main appeal has always been our live shows. And so like we're not playing
Yeah.
live, so no one's gonna care. So like I just like didn't really. It's like it's been such a afterthought. But then to have like someone I respect so much, like really respect so much, like someone I've been a fan of since high school, reach out to me and be like, "Will you be on a track with me?" I'm like, "Whoa," like, and so it makes me feel like I was maybe I think I maybe sell myself short too much musically,
Hmm. Hmm.
um, and like when when you're like heroes and people respect reach out to you like, "Oh shoot, I might be better than I gave myself credit for."
Absolutely. And one, I'm excited for your new venture, and I think it's so cool. It's so cool. Like, what was it? Something I was reading where so many people like tried this new passion that really ended up taking off later. It was like, um, I don't want to, I don't know, Ava DuVernay, who's an incredible director. Like, I know Oscar-winning director. I think it was something she like didn't pick up a camera till and like start studying it until she was in her 30s.
Mm,
And it's like there's so many stories like that where it's like it's never too late, and it's really cool to follow like something related and creative and new in a sense of like really diving into it the way it. So I'm super excited for that. By the way, friend.
well,
And
thank you.
second of all, whoever's listening, like if you have never been to a lipstick show, I don't care who you are. That is one of the most fun experiences like ever. It is so fun. Like that when you say talk about live like and how that, really when I think of lipstick, I think of those fun live shows like literally the entire experience like it's you just have to be there. Like you just have to be there. So anybody that's been to a lipstick show knows exactly what I'm talking about. And like it's just it's a whole experience. It's great. It's great. So like bands like strive to have that type of like, you know, live y'all are entertainers. You're not just musicians. Y'all are legit like entertainers and it's such a cool experience. So yeah, I miss those days.
Yeah, I miss those days too. I want to sort of address both points. One, thank you. I remembered when Cody, who ran Sound at Cafe Coco, he came up to me after the first time he saw Lipstick live, and he said, "I have seen thousands of live shows. I've done sound for thousands of shows. I have been sick of live music and never wanted to see another live show again. You guys blew me away and are one of the best live bands
Mhm.
I've ever seen." That was one of the biggest compliments I've ever received as a musician, and that was just super cool to hear that. And so, I mean, I think there's a struggle with certain bands where they really are a live experience, and capturing that in the studio, I think, is difficult. And I think we've definitely struggled with that to a degree. And it's hard to replicate, and especially in like this era where everything is just like the single and the streaming. Um, I think it's people say we're anachronistic, and so we're the kind of band where if we just like toured nonstop in the '70s would have been huge, um, I try not to think too much about like what ifs and just appreciate what I do have, and so I want to say thank you so much for that. And but on the writing thing, I've always been a better like writer than a musician, and it's always been like this thing where I'm like I should go back to this, and I always had my list of books I wanted to write. And
Yeah.
the plan was to give it like a good decade of trying really hard with the music thing, and then if I didn't make it after 10 years, going back to the writing. And
Hmm.
so it was like, okay, my 20s is just how hard can I go with this music thing? And we got really close to being signed, and, it looked like it was going to happen, but then it didn't. But, like you said, there's so many great entertainers and authors who start off in one field and move to another. Like there's so many
Hmm.
people like Alan Moore was in bands and then he became a writer because his bands, didn't quite make it. He switched to writing, then he became a huge writer. Johnny Depp
Mm.
was in bands and then
Hmm.
stumbled into acting. But
Wow.
but
I
now
didn't know
he's
that.
back doing the music thing. And the thing is, Johnny Depp is a really good player. Like he's a Nashville level guy. Like you could hire him for Nashville studio work. That's how good of a player he is. Like
Wow.
he's just like great singer, great guitar player, like really complete command of the instrument kind of guy. Like if you had him do like a Broadway gig, he could do like 3 hours of covers looking at chord charts, no problem. Like
Yeah.
he's one
Wow.
of those dudes. Like he's one of those assassins, but people don't know that. They just look at him as Johnny Depp the actor. But he had those chops,
Right.
and that's why he's like, was like part of Alice Cooper's touring band. And Alice Cooper got asked him, "Why is Johnny Depp in your band? Like, is he a good enough player?" It's like Johnny Depp wouldn't be in my band if he wasn't a good enough player, because Alice Cooper always has like the top of the top hired guns. Like, if you were in his band at one point, you're like hired gun royalty. Where like everyone wants to eat you up. Like, oh shoot, you were in Alice Cooper's band. Here, come play with Hillary Duff. Like everyone wants those guys because they're so good. And so for Johnny Depp to be on that level shows what a good player he is. But yeah, just the writing thing, it's always been what I've been better at, and I've always had more passion for it than music. But music like got me out of depression, and I felt like I owed it a solid. Like, yo, music, you did this for me, so let me do one for you. So
Mhm.
it felt like paying it forward, giving it that getting it to the next generation, and I
Yeah.
wanted to give it to more people than I did. But the fact that I've gotten like letters and stuff from people like who just said I was so inspired by your music, I went out and followed my dreams, and so like the fact that I inspired even one person would have been enough, but the fact that there are like multiple people who got inspired by it is really cool. Like, have you had that
Yeah.
fan interaction where someone like reached out to you and like talked about what your music meant to you? Like, do you have any of those moments?
Yes, I have, and I mean, it blows my mind, makes me emotional every time. Just knowing that my music touched someone in that way, and I feel that energy at live shows. But right when somebody reaches out to you, you know, after a show, or even not even at a show, but like I've gotten DMs or emails
Mm-hmm.
before, just like how you know that song or you know has really inspired their life in some way,
And
and
doesn't it blow
just
your
for them
mind?
to take time out of their day to like to let me know that I've impacted them, and it's a really beautiful spiritual thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so amazing. Like, especially when they're like younger and like they're kids who like look up to you and they think we're superstars just because like we have our stuff on Spotify. And they're just
Yeah.
like, I can't believe, Morgan messaged me back. Like, and you know that, right? Like, it's so wild when that
It's so
happens.
sweet. I know, and it's funny because it's like, oh, yeah, it's so sweet and beautiful. I'm just honored. I'm just we're all just I don't know. We're in this human exterior, but like in a way, like vessels, like using our art to connect with people, and it's really beautiful.
So, you mentioned to me that you were thinking about moving back home. Are you sticking around in Nashville for a while? Because you got a Nashville number now. So I'm like, oh shoot, are the roots there now that you have a cell phone number? Now that you got the
Oh
six
man,
one five,
I know. After what 10 years, I
right?
finally
And
got.
if you go back to St. Louis with a 615 number, like you get rid of your Missouri number just in time to move back. Like that feels like cheating.
That's hilarious. And I love my home. I love my home. I've been visiting frequently. But I'm actually I'll be moving to Atlanta next year.
Oh yeah, yeah, you told me that.
Yeah, but I have been visiting a lot with family, especially COVID. Everything. At least I'm grateful to have work that is remote in a sense where I can move around so I can visit family more. My partner, who's also dope, filmmaker and but that it lives there in St. Louis as well. So I've been commuting somewhat back and forth a little more, and it's been great. Spend some more time there. St. Louis is always going to be home. But yeah, not moving necessarily back there, at least right now. But
So, what's the appeal of Atlanta versus Nashville in terms of the next step for your career? If that's the reason you're going, like, are you moving there because it feels like the best thing for you musically as a base of operations? Is it cheaper?
it's not cheaper.
Not
Uh,
cheaper?
but I would say for me, a couple different things. One is career wise. For the music that I do, and I love Nashville, and it's molded me, and I feel like I've really kind of grown up here as an adult, at least. Spent 10 really solid years, pivotal years even, and made some incredible friends and connections. And I'm gonna frequent Nashville still. It's not that far.
Mm-hmm.
So that I feel like it's like I'm moving, but I'll still be here a good bit. Um, so there's that, just better fit music wise as far as on that end. But also, I'm just feeling ready to experience something new. I'm ready for change of space, and Nashville's been my home for almost 10 years now, and I've been itching to live somewhere else. I
I
feel
get
like I'm
that.
a person that likes to, like move around a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And this would be my first time as an adult moving, completely moving to a new city. Or to me, it doesn't feel new because I've um, frequented there. I have family there, and
Right.
it's doesn't feel new really. But I mean, it's like, but still, it's in a sense, it's like wow, this is my first move really as an adult. Because even when I moved to Nashville, 18, I moved in college, for college. So my
Mm-hmm.
parents let me move and blah blah. And then it's like, I guess my first move as an adult, where it's like, moving to a new city and experiencing that, and um, it's a move that makes a lot of sense, both personally and career wise. Being a lot around a lot more um, diversity and just things that I'm looking forward to being around, and energy that Atlanta also has an incredible creative scene there that I've been grateful to be a part of a little bit, and really looking forward to diving more into that. Um, yeah, I'm excited actually. I'm very excited.
Yeah, I mean, I will miss you, but also like I miss you now because I can't really see you due to the COVID things. So it's not like there's a difference in missing you, but it's like then like I'll really know I can't see you for a while, as opposed to although I'm like what, I'm not going to see her for like a year anyway. So really, I guess the difference is once you move to Atlanta and then you come back in a year, it's like oh well, I know I won't see her for a year, but at least it's not because of a pandemic. It's just because like she's moved far
But
away.
we'll all have to go get tacos
Oh
though.
yeah, absolutely.
That's a must.
I made sure that tacos are a big part of the screenplay. There's several scenes involving tacos, many conversations about tacos. The film does pass the Bechdel test, which I realized I did that without even trying. Because guys, it's not hard to write female characters and have them talk about something other than a man. Like I wrote the scene and then I looked back and like, oh, that passes the Bechdel test. I wasn't even trying. Screenwriters, you can do better.
That's awesome.
First real screenplay. Pass the Bechdel test within 10 minutes. Not hard,
Yeah,
y'all. You can do
you
it.
said not. Yeah, well, when you mentioned tacos, I'm like, say no more. Like tacos are involved. All right, that's it. I'm in.
Right. But I do understand like the move in thing because like I think Nashville like it's changed since we've come here. Like it really is a different city, and so like I
Yeah.
don't love it the same way I used to. Like I'm I'm not planning on moving because like all my stuff is here. And I'm like, man, all my stuff is here. And like the past decade, I moved like in the past 10 years, I moved like 7 times.
Hmm.
Maybe even like 8. I can't even keep track, but like, it was like once a year. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, I don't feel like moving. Well, like I do feel like moving because like Nashville has changed and it's not as awesome as it used to be because all the LA people came and are messing it up. I'm like, y'all, please stop messing up my city. But also, my stuff is here, so I'm not. I don't feel like moving it.
I feel you on the like having to move your stuff because literally as long as I've been here, I think all with the exception of like the past couple years and then a couple years before that, I would literally move every year within Nashville.
Yes, all right. So
So it's like
you went through that.
the act of moving is like actually pretty stressful. But
I
I love Nashville. I'm always gonna frequently visit. It's always gonna feel like part of my home, part of my heart is here, and I'm I'm just looking. I like to travel. I feel like I'm not. I can't see myself being in one space for like ever, So like I'm looking forward to some change, but yeah, I'll be frequenting a good bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think that with me, like this city really felt like my home, and I fell in love with it. But now I'm just like
Yeah,
I don't dislike it, but I'm like I don't
sure.
love it that same way. And I think there's like certain places become cultural like epicenters where
Hmm.
it's like a magnet for people. And I think
Yeah.
Nashville was a magnet for so many cool people, and it brought both of us here and so many other great people here, and I've
Right.
made
Right.
so many great friends. But I feel like that cultural magnet city is going to be a different city somewhere else. And so I think that it's possible that I might end up getting drawn there because I met so many like '80s hair metal guys who moved to Nashville, and they're just like it has the same energy LA had in the '80s, and that was like that
Mm.
magnet city. And so I wonder if there's just like not to get all hippy dippy, but if there's like some kind of force that like gravitates all the like-minded people to like an epicenter. And there's lots of cities with great scenes, but I think like Nashville in the early part of the last decade, like it was magic, and I think there's no other word I can use to describe it. We're just like it was indescribable, just like the energy in this city,
Mm.
the positivity, all the encouragement, like, and that's still here. But I think it's getting masked by a lot of other stuff. Or just like, the honky tonks, a lot of them refusing to close, and the high rise condos and the gentrification pushing people out, and just like there's a lot of stuff that's squeezing that out. And if I'm like I'm an optimist, but I'm also like realistic. I don't think
Yeah.
Nashville's going to win that battle for the soul. I think they're going to lose to the big money interests, and like I don't want it to be that way. But like if I'm like doing real talk, like
Mm.
where it's just like you say it like it is. Like you don't want it to be that way, but it is that way. That's just where I see things going, and so I can see myself moving eventually. But
Mm.
I'm not like forcing it. I'm not like, oh, I hate it here. But I'm just reading the tea leaves, seeing where it is, and you're just like, I read the tea leaves. I'm going to Atlanta. See you later.
Yeah, and I do love and appreciate the parts of Nashville culture that but so much has changed now, and I it's kind of unfortunate in some ways, and in some ways it's cool, but in the very not cool ways it's like not cool. But I love just the rich history of we talk about North Nashville and Jefferson Street, and
Mm-hmm.
then of course downtown, and then the history there, but also South Nashville, which is the most culturally diverse area of Nashville, which I love as well. And so there's that, and I hope those historic areas are able to preserve that.
Mm-hmm.
But it is hard when what we mentioned, and with gentrification, and it a lot of things are changing so fast. But I hope the city is able to keep those really really special cultural pieces to it too, because that's what makes it Nashville and makes it so beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it's just. But even as I did all like the grumpy old man, it's not like it used to be. Even as I did all that, like I still love the city, and like as soon as like the tornado hit, it was like next day, like okay, where do I volunteer?
Oh,
And
yeah.
just like it wasn't
Everybody
even a
came
thought.
together.
Everybody
Yeah,
came together. And like all my long-haired musician friends were like coming out with chainsaws and just like, all right, we're gonna
yeah,
clean up some trees, we're gonna get some stuff done, and like we were out delivering food and like giving people rides to the grocery store and just like I was so proud of the way we all came together after that.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
like that really showed you like the strength of this community and just so many great people like there's the saying that a city isn't the city is the people. The city is the people who live there, and there's a lot of great people who live in the city.
There are, yeah. That's true.
And
Yeah, it's beautiful. It was beautiful to see the city come together in that way. Like, yeah, really, really beautiful. Everybody coming out, just helping.
yeah, and I'm hoping the
Didn't
country
matter.
comes together after all this stuff. We are going through some rough times, my friend.
Oh yeah, it's rough. It's stressful.
All right, I want to end on a happy note
Yes,
because
please.
that was a bit of a downer. So like tacos, where is your taco spot in Nashville?
Ooh, okay. So El Tapatio,
Hmm.
on Nolensville Road. That is my favorite. I've grown to love mulitas.
Hmm.
So I'll get mulitas a lot. They have those there, and also tacos. That place is fire. That oh, I'm like salivating right now just thinking of it actually. So El Tapatio, hit that up. I also Where's another taco spot that I do really like Mas Tacos, specifically for their fried avocado tacos. I like their fish tacos too.
Mm,
Um,
I still want
I don't.
tacos right now.
There's nothing on that menu. Same with El Tapatio that I've tried and I didn't like. Like everything I'm like I love so much. Oh my oh, mm. Greg, why'd you do that to me?
We had to end on a positive note, and then I will do my taco plugs.
Yes, where are your favorite
So
tacos?
I Tacos y Mariscos Lopez, that truck that we went to
On
on
No One's Food?
Nolensville. Um,
Yes, that place was so good.
that place is so good, and it's just like
Oh,
we discovered it after lipstick practice one time, and then it just became like a ritual of after practice going there. So,
mm.
mm,
Oh, I thought of another one.
all right.
Sorry. I do also love the there's a taco stand in Five Points Taco Truck.
Mm-hmm.
You go there, so they've also got some fire mulitas
Ooh.
and carne asada fries, which you cannot find like anywhere. And oh my, because the I think the owner is from Cali.
Oh, nice.
We talked about it, and like their tacos are fire. Like their burritos look fire. I've never had the burritos, but I go there for their tacos, mulitas, and carne asada fries. Oh my god, those are my three favorite taco spots.
Nice.
Okay.
Um, I like El Agavero a lot. It's a sit down restaurant in Bellevue, but they do it so well over there. It's just freaking killer. Although I don't really get the tacos there that often because I'm getting their chimichangas because I think that's maybe my favorite Nashville chimichanga. Um, but yeah, the tacos there are banging. And so like when I'm thinking about like tacos, I'm lumping in Mexican restaurants that serve tacos. But also
Mm-hmm.
the truck on Dickerson by Steve's. I don't even know the name of it, but I'm just there all the time. Like the
Yeah.
orange truck on Dickerson. I'm like the corner of Dickerson and Trinity. Y'all can find it,
Mm-hmm.
but like man, so good. Just like
That sounds so good. I'm so hungry right now just
and
thinking
and
about.
like all the stuff at Plaza Mariachi. Like
Oh,
all the
oh yeah.
places around there.
Everything I've had there is fire. Oh my. Oh, I miss Plaza Mariachi. Well, I mean, I'm sure the restaurants and stuff are still open,
Actually, I
but
think it's open because I follow
that's
Plaza
good.
Mariachi on Instagram, and I follow that Beyond Wings Circus on
Yeah.
Instagram, and so like they're posting videos of like them in
Oh,
masks performing. So they're probably doing it with social distancing,
oh,
but
yeah. That's really cool.
yeah, but
Yeah. That.
I'm not going into like a indoor place during this pandemic. Like, sorry, y'all.
Yeah. I'm not. As much as I'd like to, you won't find me salsa dancing in a enclosed
Yeah.
space for a while with a lot of people. Oh man, but those used to be some fun times, and
Oh
the
yeah. We went there
food.
for
Oh
your
my
birthday.
goodness.
You were
That
dancing
was
up a
so fun.
storm.
I hope I can do it next year.
Yeah,
Maybe, the earth will be good to us and like, well, the earth is always good to us. We're bad
right.
to the earth. But hopefully by that time next year, maybe we'll be able to do it again. That would be so much fun.
I'm somewhat optimistic by that time next year because I don't know if I talked to you about this, but other people who have been on the show have heard this enough times by now. But like one of my hobbies that I started like late last year was
Hmm.
I started reading. I wanted to like read scientific journals because I felt like I should try to like better myself as a person and be more scientifically literate. So I
Mm-hmm.
started reading the science journal Nature, which is like a legit science publication, and I started
Yeah.
reading it right around the time that COVID started to hit in China, and
Mm.
also started watching a box office news show that was talking about China's economy getting destroyed because of COVID. So like
Yeah.
I was one of the earliest people in my friend group to actually know about it. And so when COVID actually came, like I was at that point very informed about it and very afraid and was like just like praying like please don't let it come to America, please don't let it come to America. Ah shit, it's here. And it was just
Before you know it.
yeah, but because I've been keeping up with all that, I'm actually based upon what I've read, I'm actually pretty optimistic that by this time next year, we might be able to do like a sense of normalcy. Um, it's also very possible that like we completely like mess things up and that we can't. But based upon what I've read, it seems very reasonable that like by fall of next year, we could be in a good spot. We could completely botch it and not be in a good spot, but it's very possible. And I also will say one more time, I'm annoyed with all the people who say, "Oh, it's going to disappear after the election." That's not
That's not how it
that's not
works.
how it works. And also, for all the people who say the Democrats can't get anything done, if you think the Democrats can formulate a national, worldwide conspiracy to tank every economy on the globe just because they don't want Donald Trump to be president, I always say, what is easier to do? Faking a virus that destroys every economy on the planet, or just like lying about like how votes are counted? Like, what do you think would be easier for the Dems to pull off? Just be say, oh, this one is a totally not a vote for Trump. It says Biden. Like, just count them in the wrong pile. Which do you think is easier to do? But that's why I love your Facebook feed, friend, because you don't post that kind of stuff.
My
You
eyes twitching as we talk.
you don't post that kind of stuff. You post actual helpful things that grown adults can use to help their community. So I appreciate you being a grown ass mature
Oh,
adult.
man. It's ooh. We have a lot of what do they call them? Keyboard warriors. I heard
Yeah,
somebody say that. Just
we have
like,
a lot of keyboard warriors,
just like
but you know what? We also got people
spreading
like you
all
and me
kind of
who get out there and
misinformation.
do stuff. Showing up at the protests, showing up, at the tornado wreckage, like actual people doing stuff. So like, I'll do some keyboard warrior stuff, but then I'll go out and do it. So that's. But
So at least you back it up
yeah, I
with
back
the
it up. I'm like,
action.
look, I post on Instagram like, hey, I'm gonna go clean up after the tornado. You should too. All right, bye. That's my post.
Right.
But yeah,
Yeah.
long story short, tacos are amazing. You're
Tacos are.
amazing.
You're amazing. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So Morgan, plug your stuff. Tell the people where they can find you. Even though I'm just gonna link it all in the description, and they could just click it. But for some reason, you say it. It's the call to action. That's how it works with videos.
That is how it works. So, like, all right, you can definitely find me wherever you like to stream music. Morgan Bosman. I'm sure the spelling will be in here somewhere, but Bosman. Um, Also socials. I'm on Instagram, pretty active. You can just search Morgan Bosman. Morgan Bosman Music on YouTube, and also on Facebook. But yeah, definitely check out my new single, No Time, that just dropped recently. So last week, I don't know when this podcast is dropping, but
Probably in a
recently.
couple days.
Okay, so super recently. Yeah, so new single is out, No Time. It's a bop. It's also got a message behind it too. So definitely give that some listens. And yeah, just check it out. I'm looking forward to new music and Thanks, Greg.
I mean, thank you. You're amazing. The great thing about podcasts, it's an excuse to talk to friends for an extended period. So it's
I
it's
love
like that is part of the show. Like the thing is, it's like, oh, I can talk to people I'm a fan of and interested of, and my friends, and I get to promote their stuff. Like people who I think are really cool, like give their stuff to the world. Like it's all winning. Like it
it
puts
is.
everybody in a good mood. It spreads good stuff out there. Like there's literally no downside other than the fact that like I do got to like get ready for bed because I got work in the morning. But otherwise, no downside. But yep, that's the video. Bye, internet.
Bye.